Thank you. For Christmas in 1983, my mother, who was always prone to financial folly, gave my dad a car. And it was a brand new Golden Mist Datsun 280ZX, had the optional T-top roof. And as we used to say in the 80s, it had a bitchin' set of aftermarket sheepskin seats. It was the perfect ride to signal my dad's status as a popular new sportscaster in Los Angeles. I was 9, and my younger brother, Matt, was 5. Now, my mom used to crush Christmas. She was prone to gifts like this. And one Monday morning during Christmas break, we were dragged out of the twin beds in the bedroom that my brother and I shared to watch my mom give him the present. And this car was as much of a model of 1980s fashion as parachute pants or leg warmers. My dad was elated. He loved it. And we spent hours poring over it that morning, mostly spent figuring out how to get the T-tops on and off and stowed away and all that. So my brother and I were off from school that day. So as would often happen in days like this, my mom forced my dad and my dad forced us to come to work with him. Now, if my dad had had a normal job, this would have been drudgery. We'd probably be laying around with coloring books in a law office or something. But in my dad's case, his work involved things like interviewing Muhammad Ali at his home or hanging out on the field before the game at Dodger Stadium, fetching baseball players for my dad to interview. In other words, these are experiences that less decadent kids would have given their right arms for, but my brother and I had to be forced to do it. So on this particularly beautiful, sunny Southern California winter day, my dad was going to the beach to interview a champion surfer. Now, the beach in question was somewhere between 20 minutes and 9.5 hours away, depending on Los Angeles traffic. And as was my dad's custom, we stopped for drinks at 7-Eleven. My dad got a big gulp of Mountain Dew, and I got a cherry Slurpee, which is also what my brother wanted. Now, at this point, my dad belatedly realized that maybe having a 5-year-old in the back of his brand new car with an open container of bright red stain for the rest of the drive wasn't the best idea in the world. So he told my brother no. Now, this was patently unfair. My dad had a drink. I had a drink. I had the exact same drink that my brother would. And there I was in the store, happily just slurping mine down. And so my brother, who's always the schemer, he never threw a tantrum. He never cried. He never cajoled. He knew from watching me do that stuff that didn't work, right? It only backfired. He just got sad. So after a few moments of that, I couldn't take it anymore. I said, "Listen, Dad, I'll vouch for him." I said, "He'll be careful, right, Matt? You'll be careful, right?" And he gave me this puppy dog nod, and he gave my dad this puppy dog nod. Now at this point, my dad was outnumbered. He stared at us for what felt like minutes, and we just looked back at him with our enormous eyes and our pathetic, pleading faces, and we knew we'd won. We just needed to wait it out until it was official. So finally, he relented, and he said, "Okay, but you need to promise to blah 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 something something something." We were off getting a Slurpee by that time, and frankly, we were careful. I kept a watchful eye from the front seat for the entire length of my 9-year-old attention span, which was about 18 or 19 seconds. And my brother Matt was a paragon of care. He kept the straw in his mouth. He cradled the cup. He took these gentle little slips. Eventually, we got comfortable. I stopped looking back as often as I did. My dad stopped asking about it. My brother, he was doing great. So finally, when the journey was over, my dad parked the car. We opened the doors and we started filing out. We heard this sweet, soft, innocent voice come from the back seat. He said, "Dad, do you have a towel?" Now, I told that story for probably the 1,000th time at a Christmas dinner 12 years later. And it was an impossibly somber occasion. We were surrounded by friends and family, and we were coming to terms with the fact that my mom had just been diagnosed as terminal from the cancer that she'd been fighting for the preceding 2 years. It would be our last Christmas together that we'd spend together as a family because, she was the glue, right? And so I told the story, and we laughed and we laughed, and we had tears of laughter ever so slightly diluting the ones of sorrow that we'd been accumulating. And we laughed. And even as that 1983 280ZX itself probably rusted to nothing in a junkyard somewhere with an enormous cherry red stain defiling the back left seat. But I'll tell you, we'd have given 1,000 of those cars for that one moment. We still would. Thanks for listening.